Good afternoon. This is the House Appropriations Committee. It is Wednesday, February 4th, 2026. It's just after 2:15 p.m. Continuing to go through the FY27 budget. And this afternoon, we're pleased to have the Advocate General and staff to talk about the budget that you have developed. So welcome. It's great to see you here.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
Take it away.
Appreciate the opportunity, ma'am. I'll go with precedent, if it's acceptable to you and the committee, is to create a brief overview of what's going on with our Guard, both externally and internally. And then I'll turn it over to Kim to talk through the specifics.
And for the record, you would all introduce yourselves. That would be terrific.
Yes, ma'am. I'm Major General Greg Knight, Vermont's Adjutant General. Provide a quick mission update. As you know, the Guard has dual missions. We have our state mission, our domestic response mission to the governor and our citizens, as well as our federal mission. But recently, I go back to this past spring, I went out to Okinawa, Japan, to visit with our Air Guard. They had mobilized on a training mission, focusing on interoperability with our regional partners in the Indo-Pacific. They conducted exercises in Guam and in South Korea, and that was actually, I believe, the second time that our aircraft has flown, U.S. aircraft have flown specifically out of a South Korean base in conjunction with our South Korean allies. We also have a number of members. We have what we call a reserve component period, and our Air Guard members mobilize as individuals to support active duty units that are already deployed. And we've had a number of them, about 60 airmen this past year in multiple countries across 3 combatant commands. And then everybody's aware we had a very short notice Title 10 mobilization for our Air National Guard in support of Southern Command. And what's interesting to note here, being the best in the business sometimes comes at a cost. They were asked for by name by the Secretary of War to support this mission. And we're quickly becoming known, I think it's well known, at least from my seat, even inclusive of my bias, that we are simply the best in the business when it comes to the F-35 enterprise. Our Army National Guard remains busy. We did have a mobilization ceremony about 2 weeks ago. We've got 160 members of our 86th Brigade headquarters and some of our cavalry squadron going to Germany as part of the joint multinational training group Ukraine. So they're going to be focusing for the next year training new soldiers for the Ukrainian military. So that's a critical mission for them. And then we have force structure changes. The Army is changing, moving away from legacy systems like the tanks, the Strikers, some of those more maintenance intensive and less nimble and adaptable systems, becoming more mobile. That means change across the Army. It's becoming more adaptable, much lighter, and that's going to drive change here in Vermont. We will become smaller as a force. Probably good for us. It'll actually right-size us as a state. Right now, I've got over 700 vacancies in the Army National Guard that we can't fill. So that will get us to where we need to be and put us probably 90 to 95% of staffing to execute our missions. Our state partnerships, before I move on, we also have an upcoming deployment to Central Command for our infantry battalion, also part of our 86th Brigade. And that's in conjunction. We're a multi-state brigade. So it'll be Maine, New Hampshire, and Vermont soldiers going with our infantry battalion in support of Operation Spartan Shield in Southwest Asia. And that's an enduring mission. It's a stability and security mission that we've been a part of before. And all those missions are going to be about a year. Our state partnership program remains very strong. I recently visited both North Macedonia and Austria. North Macedonia, we've been partners with for 34 years. I've been traveling there personally for 24 years. I have a lot of friends there. We've been alongside them when they became one of our newest NATO allies, which is pretty profound. We've worked diligently, bless you, increase their capability, their capacity, modernization to NATO standards. And they're on track to meet their targets as required by NATO. One of the significant things for them is validating Krivolak Training Area, which is a 54,000 acre directional firing range. You can do things there, military training there, that you probably can't do anyplace else in Europe, not at scale. So it's good business for them. It's good business for NATO. And we've been central. Our folks that work at our range actually help them design the master plan and lay out for that range, and work with 7th Army Training Corps in Europe to make that a reality for them. Austria, of course, is a tremendous partnership. It's different. It's a wealthy, stable, high-functioning democracy. We've done things with them in 4 years that I don't think would have been possible. Very complex joint operations. We've had them at Fort Drum. A year ago, this past June, we were in North Macedonia. It was a joint international operation and exercise. It's called immediate response. And we had 8 nations represented and 12,000 soldiers participating in Greece and in North Macedonia. And that was, again, to validate Krivolac training area. I cannot buy that kind of marketing for our soldiers. The experiences that they have there are truly irreplaceable. For me, that equals retention. When they can do those things, they will stay in the Guard. And of course, the goodwill, and again, the development that comes with that is mutually beneficial for us. Austria was a part of that. And in Senegal, of course, where our efforts continue there, I was just on a call yesterday with the AFRICOM commander. Senegal has a renewed focus as one of the most stable countries in Northwest Africa. They're in what I call the Coup Belt. So our partnership there is very important. We've been with them for going on 18 years. I've been traveling there for 11 years now. A lot of friends. And that's where the continuity of effort comes in. If you look at the state partnership program across the Guard, there are 116 partnerships across the world right now. Different levels of success, but I would argue that we're probably one of the more successful, especially in Africa. It's a very challenging place to be, but we've worked on countering malign influence, those violent extremist organizations reaching into Senegal to try to turn disaffected youth to overturn the government, being disruptive, malign influence, disinformation, misinformation, cybersecurity, as well as more humanitarian events. I've probably spoken about it before. We've done medical readiness exercises there for 8 years consecutive. We've grown that from being a bilateral engagement into actually incorporating our state partners of Austria. We're working on getting North Macedonia there as well. I'll give you an example of the impact that has. It was a year ago, June. Our folks traveled to the far southeast of Senegal. They worked in 3 local communities with civilian Senegalese medical providers and military providers, as well as 2 Austrian Army doctors, 3 from New Hampshire, and then about 30 of our providers from our Air and Army National Guard. And they worked in Tambacounda, Kédougou, and Goudiri, very small outlying villages. And in 12 days, they saw 791 patients. That's how great the need is. Our physical therapists got folks out of wheelchairs, walking for the first time in years. 2 years consecutive, my combat medics working in labor and delivery revived a Senegalese infant at birth. Again, that's a pretty powerful message. And that mother will always know it's because of the partnership that her child is alive today. We are making progress in recruiting and retention, but we need more help. It's a challenge. And as you all are well aware, affordable housing, advertising for our full-time staff. I can give you any number of anecdotes. We're certainly not alone in the challenges of bringing in talent to Vermont. One challenge to get them is the challenge to keep them. So this is a larger national conversation, not necessarily for our legislature, but certainly the messaging is there. We are not competitive with outside civilian organizations. So the GS and wage grade employees, we've advertised, for instance, my senior contracting official job 8 times. I had 3 folks that accepted the job and then backed out because they couldn't find a place to live. I recently advertised 4 positions that were GS9 to GS11. Not a bad rate of pay, but for those 4 positions, those vacancies, we had 1 applicant. So don't know the math there, but we've got to do a better job in getting our talent here and keeping it here. And that really resides with the Office of Personnel Management at the national level. They need to revise that pay scale. I think that's a national problem.
We have a question.
Just real quick, John. Can you share what that looks like? The different pay grades of GS9 to 11. What's that look like? That range?
So what do you think the pay scale is?
Roughly.
I'd probably have been at GS9 to 10. I'd say probably 1 to
Yeah, I can get back to you on that one, but yeah, but even if it were 75, 80,000 for a GS 11,
Sure.
I may have retention bonuses if I have the money from National Guard Bureau. I could offer, for instance, a civil engineer or cyber specialist a $20,000 bonus, retention bonus to keep them for 2 years. They can make $30,000 more tomorrow working at UVM or any other business that would pay them that.
Understood.
Same thing is true for mechanics, diesel mechanics, hydraulic mechanics, airframe and power plant, all very in demand. Getting them and keeping them remains a challenge.
So just one quick thing here as well. So if you have someone who's currently active duty in other branches, and they want to come be here, what happens with their, I know it all depends where they currently are, but is that transferred directly over with what you need for someone or those grade A positions?
So somebody coming from outside of Vermont?
Sure.
So we do have relocation incentives normally. The Air Guard and Army Guard are funded differently. The Air Guard received their incentive money. The Army Guard did not. We received zero. So I've got no incentive to bring them here. But that remains a challenge. We could look, Vermont's a great place to be if we can find them a place to live.
My son knows that. I'm talking about.
Yeah.
So GS9 is between 50 and 60K.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Thank you.
Yeah. So in essence, an entry level position for us.
Thanks.
So within the legislature, and I would tell anybody that I'm very appreciative of the work that this body does with the Guard. I think it's a marked change from when I first got the job. I'll talk about this at my State of the Guard address on the 19th of February at 9 o'clock in the morning. Should you be there?
You will be there. We
Public service.
our calendars for that.
Public service announcement. But we did not have a robust relationship with our legislature. We came down when we were called to testify or when we needed something. And I got this job and that just seems like bad form to me. So we fixed that, and asking for a caucus was probably one of the smartest things I could have done. But from that came a lot of good work from our legislature. We've secured our improvements and longevity of our tuition benefit program, which was a pilot program. That is now law. That is a huge, and we'll talk, and Kim will talk about it, that is a huge draw for us. That keeps us competitive in the recruiting world. And we had personalized learning plans for our high school seniors, did not include a requirement to include military career options. We've changed that. This body made that law. I was recently part of our legislature's sister state working group and worked with others to establish recommended actions for the legislature and the governor to formalize sister state requirements and expectations. That one I find very heartening. Our state partnership program, I've worked very diligently to move it beyond just a military to military construct. We've had some success there. We'll talk a little bit more about that at another time. But it's been pretty remarkable. Once we kind of broken out of our silos and started getting traction and having more civ to civ, and eventually I hope legislative engagement and sharing of best practices is mutually beneficial for Vermont, and the impact that it can have in a country like Senegal and North Macedonia in particular are pretty profound. Kim will talk in some detail about our military construction projects ongoing and pending. The big one, we have our Linden Regional Readiness Center and our new Family Services Center. I was able to work with our congressional delegation with Senators Welch and Senator Sanders to get an additional $2 million to address cost overruns for materials. So it went from being a $4.7 million, 12,000 square foot Family Readiness Center to now $6.7 million Family Readiness Center. And I think that's all federal money.
For Linden?
Yeah, well, for the
Oh, for
Family
the
Readiness.
family ready.
Yeah,
Yes.
and that's all
Yes, sir.
federal money. So there's no cost sharing with the state of Vermont. So that's a big win for us. Now I come back to making progress in recruiting and retention. Workforce development, we have our PRIME program, a partner recruiting initiative for military and employers, where a partner agency, an employer works with the Guard. We will sign an agreement and we can refer our personnel, primarily our traditional drilling members of the Guard, or those that are underemployed or unemployed, and we will guarantee them an interview with that participating employer. That's been a big win for us. We stole that from the active duty. They would wait 4 to 6 years before your soldier or airman came back to become an employee. We need employees now. And that's what the Guard offers. Our training at the outside is about a year. Normally, it's 4 to 6 months to get a ready soldier or airman in Vermont, and they can now apply through us, and we will help them, upskill them, and get them aligned with employment in the state of Vermont. And the last one I will talk about, and I'll turn it over to Kim, JEEP, which is, of course, an acronym. It's our Joint Enlistment Enhancement Program. I also stole that idea. I hate to say it, but I stole it from my colleagues in Alabama. And it's the Joint Enlistment Enhancement Program where you incentivize recruiting internally for members of the Guard.
Did the acronym come first or did the, just about the 700 vacancies in the Army Guard? That's not the Air Guard. Can you just, how many current members do you have? And do we add plus 700 to something that existed 15 years ago? Or, and who are we missing?
So predominantly it's combat arms. It's our infantry, our mortarmen, our cav. What the transition will bring, those units, cavalry in particular, our combat engineers, they will become a division asset. So it goes to a much higher headquarters than us. We will become an infantry pure state with small enabling forces like counter unmanned aerial systems, cyber specialists. Those will be much smaller footprint, but predominantly infantry. Our platforms will change. We will no longer have up armored Humvees. There's I don't remember the acronym for it, but it's a new platform, much lighter, more nimble. But in the end, that construct becomes much smaller. So we'll reduce our overall force structure by about 727 positions. They're vacant now. It will require some work on our part to take those soldiers we have who are cavalry or combat engineers and actually transition them to infantry. And that's a retention challenge for us. They may not want to be infantry.
And it sounds like there's a bit of a spiral potential here of losing more people because they don't want to be retrained. How does that affect the state mission?
So bigger picture, if we can't maintain our force structure, it has a direct impact on our ability to build new facilities in Vermont. There's a ratio of you have to have X percentage of fill before you will receive funding to build a new armory, for instance. So my vision was having, in essence, 4 readiness centers in the 4 corners of Vermont and divest our 20 plus legacy armories that were built in the 50s and 60s. They're no longer sustainable. They're too far flung. 4 readiness centers could have multiple units housed in them, more room for equipment and vehicle storage. And it's a better fit for Vermont, certainly with domestic response. Not having assigned strength, our personnel strength where it needs to be directly, that's an example that impacts it. Yes, sir. So we've
One more gentleman.
So how many, you're still building readiness centers, but how many you get right now? 2?
So we have, well, we lease from the U.S. Army Reserve. And of course, they're going through changes as well, and they're probably going to end up divesting those. It's a big conversation whether or not we take those on and convert them to the National Guard. We did that once at the Smith Goldberg Center outside of Camp Johnson. We got that from the U.S. Army Reserve. Yeah, but they're going through changes just like we are. And their footprint here was very small to begin with. Yeah. So back to Jeep, it has been a huge success. So it was one of the better ideas that I've ever stolen. So last year we executed over $100,000, and that's for every person that puts somebody in our Guard, Air Guard or Army Guard, we pay them $1,000. It's an incentive to do something that's not necessarily their job. That has paid dividends for us. 40% of our accessions into the Army National Guard last year were as a result of that Joint Enlistment Enhancement Program. About 20% of the Air National Guard accessions. So 1 in 5 and 4 in 10. That's pretty significant. And it really amplifies our ability to get the word out about the benefits of having a dual career track in the National Guard. The best way to recruit is have the members on the team already recruiting for it. So that'll be one of our asks this year, Madam Chair. We only have a state budget. Last year we had a state budget for $60K applied to this program. And we were able to move money from other military department programs to cover the difference. So we're going to be looking for a small increase there because
How much did you end up spending last year? We budgeted 60,000, but how much did you actually get out the door?
108.
108.
it works.
It's,
We want to make sure it keeps working. As Rep. Stevens had asked, if we don't maintain a strong and ready force here, that's going to have some secondary and tertiary impacts to our Guard that are not good. Thank you, Madam Chair.
thank
I'd
you.
like to turn it over to Ms. Kim Fideli, and I would like to say in a public forum, her work is phenomenal. Her and her team have just made my job so much easier. Their work is transparent to most. It's pretty incredible. So I'm very pleased to have her on our team. We're in good shape. Remarkable fiscal steward for our military department.
Stuff is really important. I say that to the right committee. We appreciate it.
Over
All
to
right,
you.
thanks, sir. Good afternoon. My name is Kim Fidelli. I'm the financial director for the military department. Just a time check. Do we have till 2:45 or till 3?
Are we supposed to have till 2:45? We could go a couple minutes over if we need to.
I'll try to keep it brief.
Thank you. We can go a few minutes over. Yeah, yes.
Just a quick organizational overview of our department. I think you've all probably heard this before. But our mission with the military department is to support the Vermont National Guard. We have about 170 personnel in our department. Call ourselves a small department, but it keep growing and growing. Our budget, our general fund budget's about $7.5 million. We bring in anywhere from $40 to $60 million of federal funding every single year throughout our various different cooperative agreements with the National Guard Bureau. We have 5 different appropriations within the department. First, we have administration. This mainly houses personnel costs for our executive staff. Our internal service funds make up about $800,000 of this appropriation. So there's not a lot of extra wiggle room in here. And some of our important programs within administration that are aimed toward recruiting to assist the Guard are, as General Knight mentioned, our Vermont National Guard Tuition Benefit Program and the Jeep Incentive Program. Also within administration, if there is a state of emergency, state active duty event, we do support that entire mission through our administration appropriation. The last 2 missions we had were both of the last 2 July flooding events in 2023 and 2024. But the Guard stood right up and helped out during that event. Next, under our air services appropriation, we bring in, I think our federal budget in this appropriation is about 13 million, a much smaller amount for state funds. All of these programs that you see listed here are 100% federally funded, with the exception of our facilities, operations and maintenance program, and our environmental programs. The majority of those budgets are also payroll. So it's our personnel, our staff going out there and working on all of these buildings over at the air base, making sure they're functional and that the roads are cleared. Under our Army Services program, we have several more programs. Again, all of these are 100% federally funded, with the exception of facilities, operations, and maintenance. So there is a lot of federal dollars that come in through these programs. Every single one of them, they're budgeted annually. We get a new cooperative agreement every single year to, maintain our facilities, keep an eye on environmental programs, securing these facilities. We have force protection at both the Air and the Army Guard posts. So there's a lot of work that goes into making sure our facilities and operations are up to the standards of the Guard. I will highlight a little bit later on, but within Army and Air, we do have several major military construction projects or minor military construction projects, in addition to our annual awards that we receive every single year. Our building maintenance appropriation is really just the state funds that match the Army facilities programs. So that appropriation is entirely here to support the facilities, operations and maintenance for the Army. And some other facilities and activities that are not necessarily reimbursable. Lastly, we have the Veterans Affairs Appropriation. So this facility just right across the street here in Montpelier, there are a number of staff that support and provide outreach for the 36,000 veterans that we have in state. We have 6 veteran service officer positions that are, their job is to help our veterans to obtain benefits from the federal government. They do a lot of really great work in assisting veterans. We also maintain and operate the Vermont Veterans Memorial Cemetery down in Randall. So a couple of programs we want to highlight. I think General Knight has done a good job of talking towards a couple of these programs, but just some information for you folks on the tuition benefit program, just to see the trajectory over the last several years. It's grown exponentially since it first came on in 2019 is when it really took effect. Our budget in the FY27 budget request is about 1.2 million. You'll see kind of a dip in the cost of this program in the last couple of years, but you'll also notice that the actual use of this program has not really declined much. We have between 103, 108 participants over the last several years. So the types of programs that are available have changed a little bit. We now able to do certificate programs, master's degrees, and second bachelor's degrees. So there's been a lot of good use of this program, and
Is that one of the pages in here? I'm trying to find it.
Oh, yes, page 12.
Okay.
Should be under program performance.
Okay. There's the chart. Thank you.
I didn't see grants in the lines.
Oh,
There's no
yes,
change.
there was no change for this.
No change. You don't see it. You have to
Okay.
find it in the back. So I found it on the page.
Okay.
Sorry about that.
Found it on a different page, but it's not numbered in the back. Yeah, okay. And deployments affect tuition.
Correct. Yeah, folks aren't able to really utilize the program when they're deployed, and there have been quite a few deployments over the last several.
It feels like this fiscal year, there's a lot of deployments.
Yes, and it makes it a little challenging to project
Right.
what to expect, but
Yeah. Okay.
And the next, we have the Joint Enlistment Enhancement Program. So there's just a good visual of just to see how important this program has been and how useful it's been at recruiting folks into the Guard. As General Knight mentioned, 40% of Army National Guard accessions in federal fiscal year 25 were a result of this program.
And tell us what accessions are.
Enlistment,
Okay.
somebody who enlists,
Yeah.
it's one of our terms. Yeah. You're
Lots of terms. I get
you're
that.
assessed into the National Guard.
Okay.
So it's an enlistment. Somebody actually joins the Guard.
Thank you.
And the numbers between the federal fiscal year and our state fiscal years are a little bit skewed, just in case that confuses anyone. But as mentioned, the only way we were able to successfully bring in all of these recruitments through this program is through the use of carry forward funds or utilizing other areas and savings that we can put towards this. But in our base budget at the moment, we only have $70,000 appropriated towards this program. So we will hope to be able to do as we have in the past and make this program grow.
Yeah.
Right. Next, we have just some information on our veteran service officers, just to show what great work they're doing. We have 6 positions allotted for VSOs. Only 4 of them have been filled regularly. They're still working on recruiting those last 2, but for the 4 that have been on staff, they brought in $10 million worth of federal benefits last year alone. So they're doing a really great job, and we expect to only see that continue to grow as we're able to fully staff that program. I might not go into detail on the next couple in case there's any questions. I want to get to our budgets a bit, but I'll try to keep this really simple. In addition to our 3% increase, these are our new funding requests that have been incorporated into the governor's recommended budget. So our first request was for 6 new maintenance positions within our Army service programs. So we're asking for 4 new military maintenance specialists. One, and they're the ones that are out there fixing our buildings when a boiler goes down. They're the ones responding, mowing lawns, plowing roads. 1 military building construction specialist. So this is essentially the liaison between the maintenance program and our contracting office, making sure that when we do bring in contractors or service contracts, that we're coordinating between the business office and then scheduling all of the work to be done. We only have 1 on staff at this point, and they are kind of maintaining all of those contracts for the entire state of Vermont military department. So it's a lot of work, and we'll be thrilled to have another position added. And lastly, a military storekeeper position. And so that's essentially someone to run the warehouse operations at Ethan Allen Firing Range. So just a better our ability to monitor our stock that we have and keep our maintenance folks moving with what they need to be able to maintain the facilities. Our second request is to incorporate a $10,000 annual grant to USS Vermont Support Group. So that is a nonprofit organization that supports the military members and the families of folks that work on the USS.
You've been doing that every year for.
It's been a one-time appropriation for I think the last 3 years, and
What you want to do is put it in the base?
yes.
So last year it wasn't in there at all. We had to get it put in.
Last year?
Yeah.
We always put it in. It's always been one time, but so the request is to move it to
wasn't
base.
requested. It wasn't in the governor's recommend last year. I don't believe we added it in.
Okay.
All right.
The third one is.
And our last ask is additional general fund for the Department of Veterans Affairs. So this money will entirely go towards the cemetery. We have a special cemetery fund that we put towards maintaining and operating the cemetery. We bring in about $120,000 to $140,000 per year, and that money essentially comes from the federal VA for interments at the cemetery. It also comes from family members that buy plots, but we have been far exceeding that revenue on an annual basis just from payroll alone. The cemetery was recently expanded greatly. The plan is to continue to expand. So we have had to grow our personnel and our seasonal staff to be able to maintain that at the quality that it needs to be maintained.
Is the fund currently in deficit?
No, ma'am. But with this, we'll be able to actually put that money towards maintaining the facilities and, purchasing equipment and vehicles that are needed for our folks.
Move to the base from the special fund.
Yes, ma'am. Yes. All right. So unless you'd like me to go through any of the appropriations specifically, those are really the
Standard ups and downs, and I think you've been
Exactly.
through it, so we don't need to go through any of those.
I will pass through to one highlight is a budget adjustment for FY26, and that is to return some of the unused funds from the tuition benefit program from FY25. We ended the fiscal year with a balance, or VSAC ended the year with a balance, so we reduced that amount towards them for this current fiscal year, and we'd like to return that to the general fund.
So that was being reverted in. Well, the budget adjustments already gone out. Did we?
It's in there. It was in the budget.
It was in the budget itself, not budget adjustment.
Budget adjustment.
It was in the budget adjustment. Okay. Yeah, yes, that's right, the tuition benefit, okay. We already moved that to the Senate, and we did that. So.
And then just with the last couple of minutes, just to highlight some of the big items that we have going on in the military department. So talked about some construction contracts. We have 28 active construction contracts going on, and that's either new construction or maintaining, restoring current facilities, totaling $43 million. Yes, 24 million of that is allocated to the Linden Readiness Center. And this is a mix of federal and state dollars. It's not one or the other. We're maintaining 73 design contracts or design projects. So there are a lot more projects always in the queue. We're prepping, trying to get these facilities up to standard. And then just to highlight some of the staff that supported the various National Guard deployments over the last year or so. I will say a lot of work did go into both preparing for these deployments and also maintaining all operations during the federal shutdown for the month and a half that was closed. And last, this is just a list of our major and minor military construction projects. So the first, I think 10 or 11 are all Army projects. As you will see, all but one of these projects is entirely federally funded, and we hope to bring in a lot of federal revenue into the state. So
Yeah, I was just curious what the North Side Cantonment program is. I mean,
outside cantonment. Can you speak?
Yeah, at Ethan Allen firing range. Yeah, so I know a little bit about it. I haven't seen the design yet, but I know part of it is making it energy efficient. So to modern standards, and in essence, creating a microgrid. So if there's a power failure or something like that, the range can continue operations. That's a piece of it. And then the other part of it.
That's what that is?
Yeah.
Okay.
And the other part of that, of course, is another one of those best kept secrets within best kept secrets. We have 4 of our National Guard members who are Olympic biathletes going to the Olympics this year. It's pretty phenomenal.
Wow.
That's it. So they're, and that's what that does is it takes our existing biathlon course and firing range and makes it world-class standard. So looking down the road, we will be able to bring world-class events here. As I visited this past December in Hochfilzen, Austria. So we're potentially thousands of international visitors and competitors coming here to compete world-class events for the biathlon.
The Linden Readiness Center, that's slated to be completed in 28. So, correct, General Carter?
yeah.
It was awarded in the fall of 2025. I believe they're about 20% complete now. So
See it once in a while. So it's
Yeah.
just going up.
Going up.
yeah,
Yeah.
it's exciting.
Driving by it, John.
We got really lucky with this one. This project was actually only supposed to be about 19 million. But the bids came in very high. We got a plus up from National Guard Bureau of 3 million after those bids came in. And then a congressional ad just came in for another $2 million. So because we had taken several deducts to try to stay below budget, but we're going to be able to add on to that. So we get a lot more of what we were hoping for.
So it's a 24-month construction, so they just look.
So I wanted to just pause for a second and go back to the business office transitioning to Vermont buys, because I heard that there were some challenges with that system. And are you feeling like it's working for you right now, or still some glitches that need to be figured out?
I will say we essentially did not try to integrate until after October because there were a lot of glitches, and then we went into the federal fiscal year end. So between October and now, I believe we're 90% integrated. There are certainly some glitches. We are working hand in hand with the help desk. There's a lot of people collaborating across departments, trying to help each other out to, get through some of the bugs. But we've been able to make it work as best we can. But it has definitely came with some challenges.
Yeah. Okay, well, I think we're gonna pause you there, if that's all right. General Knight, I want to thank you for your service. You have changed the legislature's view of the Guard in a really positive way. You've been facing things during your tenure. And I, for one, am very grateful for what you have managed to do So appreciate all you've done, and I hope you really enjoy your retirement when that happens.
7 years of backed up projects at home.
Awesome.
Thank you so much for your service.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you all. Okay, great. We're running late, but we're going to take 5 minutes. And then we have Hardy coming back to talk about the executive